Ricardo,
Here.
Christy,
Here.
Crystal,
Here.
Heidi,
Here.
thanks Heidi, Jason,
Here.
Bill, Chair's here.
Ginger, I think you're on your laptop camera, not on the Owl. I think you need to change which camera and microphone you're using.
Thank you, Greg. It said it automatically connected to the Owl. So, am I the only person that you're able to see right now? The Owl microphone is working.
Right now, I don't see anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, while we can continue with the meeting then, because people can still hear what we're saying while I fix the visual.
Okay. So moving along to approval of the agenda as presented.
It needs to be amended.
What's that?
Make a motion that we amend the agenda to postpone the board goals to May.
Here a second.
Second, this Bill.
Sorry, it's Crystal, I forgot.
Motion to change the agenda. We're actually just deleting one item and moving it to a work session. If I'm getting the gist of that.
Yes.
So
I didn't hear what was amended.
The amendment was proposed by Director Rospiso to move the board goal topic to May. It was seconded by Director Vice Chair Bill Grout. Thank you.
So we'll take that motion first. This is the motion to, can I do that as one?
Think so.
Motion to amend and,
Yeah.
and approve is at the same time. Okay. So this will be motion to amend and approve the agenda in the amended form. Ricardo,
Aye.
Christy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Heidi,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Bill.
Aye.
Chair votes for. The agenda is approved as amended. Public comments, we received quite a bunch of them. In the interest of time, I'm not going to be able to read all of them, but I will read a sampling of them. So if you would indulge with me. This was received 3:15 at 12:34 p.m. Dear school board members, this last week our team welcomed our new second graders into our hybrid and new CDL classrooms. Those of us who are teaching hybrid love seeing students back in the classroom and excited about learning. It felt so good, but we were definitely exhausted by the end of each day. Those of us who continued with CDL had an amazing week with our students as well. Our online learners showed up every day with smiles on their faces and worked really hard. We continue to be amazed by them. This week left our hearts full. We thought we would take a few moments and write to you about the values of Monday. There seems to be a lot of confusion about what teachers actually do on Mondays since we are not teaching students. Throughout this year, we've used our Mondays in many useful ways. Some of the things we do on Mondays are meet with students individually to read, assess, support with Canvas, and to provide encouragement and positive reinforcement for effort and work completion. Another common practice is to use Mondays to connect with parents through phone calls, Google Meets, Canvas Inbox, and Class Dojo. Comprehensive distance learning and hybrid for young learners requires a certain level of parent support. Therefore, the need for frequent communication and responses to questions has increased this year. Some of our Mondays have been spent in trainings such as TGG math, suicide prevention, hybrid safety protocols, just to name a few. Monday meetings have included staff meetings, grade level team meetings, reopening team meetings, and leadership meetings. Without the ability to meet daily in person, our team needs time to discuss and plan engaging and differentiated lessons for all students. Now that we have transitioned into hybrid learning, Mondays are also more important than ever. This is our only day our team, CDL and hybrid teachers, are able to meet and plan together. All Canvas assignments for the week must be ready to go by the end of the day on Mondays. We are grateful for these Mondays. Without them, some of this work would not be possible. What a year we have had so far. There are so many challenges and changes for all of us. We have worked through all of these to ensure our students are having the best possible year. We have learned so much from this year, and we've worked harder than ever before. Now knowing how important Mondays are to teachers, students, and families, please help assure that they remain protected. Sincerely, the second grade team, Darla Boswell, Megan Kitts Miller, Lindsay Mendez, Chrissy Rotto, and Casey Robles. Received from the third grade team at 3/15/1256. This letter comes to you from the hardworking third grade team. We returned to our classrooms almost a year to the day of leaving them for what we thought would be an extended spring break. To say this year has been full of twists and turns for all members of North Marion community is obviously an understatement, and we cannot adequately convey our thanks to the families for their support and care during this last year. Today, we'd like to speak specifically to the importance of Mondays to continue as non-contact days with students as the next school year's plans are considered. There is a misconception that teachers are not working Mondays, and I cannot stress enough how false this is. Having a specified day that is ours to plan, meet, and strategize has been invaluable for our professional health and development, as well as for our own mental and emotional health. With this time, we have had improved communication with struggling students and guardians. We've collaborated with one another and across grade levels to create streamlined lessons that serve the students' current and future needs. We've had the opportunity to keep up with grading and review current data during working hours instead of late into the night, and attend meetings and trainings to improve and reflect on our craft during a pandemic and well after. Reserving a day for staff was a crucial act of care, and it doesn't have to cease just because the pandemic is winding down. This is a time that should be set aside in even the best and healthiest years to support each individual in our schools and homes. Important work is happening behind the scenes. We ask that you continue to make this time available in the coming school year. Thank you for your time, Julie Palombo, Becky Reed, Sherry Knight, Dina McCarthy, and Jenna Gillis. Received from the fifth grade team, 3/15/2021, 1234. Due to the North Marion School Board, when thinking about all the things that have to go into school, one of the key components is working collaboratively with those around you who are teaching the same subject or grade level. Being able to have conversations about what we are teaching, how we teach it, and then to be able to prepare for what we are teaching is vital to offering an effective teacher, being an effective teacher, excuse me. Although this year has been different, there have been many things that have gone well. Taking time on Mondays to meet as a team has been a crucial part of teaching through CDL and now going into hybrid. As a team, we spent a good portion of the Monday morning meetings discussing our plan for the current week, outlining what is going to be taught the next week, and then to work on our subject maps. All that we work on together can't get done in just a couple of hours. Mondays are important because they give us the time to prepare for what is coming up. Finding digital resources, creating videos of lessons, and just wrapping our minds around how to teach from a distance takes time. Mondays have also been beneficial for many of our students. This is a time, if needed, a student knows they can catch up on work that they may not have finished during the week. Unlike the Wednesdays in past years, many fifth grade students use their Mondays as a catch-up day. When thinking about switching to hybrid, many asked if they will still get the day to catch up on unfinished assignments or tasks and were relieved when they knew it was still available. Canvas, as you've probably heard, is a wonderful tool for both teachers and students, but it's taken quite a bit of user learning. Once we've gotten our routine down and how to use it and work through kinks, it has been a nice website for students to utilize. With that said, it doesn't get put together in just an hour or two on a Monday. Most of us dedicate a majority of our weekend grading and creating assignments or changing over things for the next week. It takes a lot of time figuring out what or how to do something on the digital side, since not everything was digital before. Thank you for allowing us to have Mondays to collaborate as a team and to make sure our students can learn successfully. We appreciate the time so much. Sincerely, the fifth grade team, Jessica Dowdy, Rachel Camp, Bethany Stoltz, Diana McEllington, McGilligot, and Nicole Peterson. Excuse me. Dear school board members, 2 of my hardest weeks of this pandemic were the weeks of President's Day and MLK Junior Day. That is because I decided not to work on those holidays, which unfortunately fell on Mondays. Mondays are valuable to me because it is a day to chase down students who may need help or reminders to do their work. First, I would make sure that everything turned in from the week is scored, and then call and email parents and students. Our Monday grade level meeting is important for discussing what other teachers are seeing with certain students and for collaboration with student contact and other plans. We also need time for staff meetings and IEP meetings, which are on Mondays. I've always go over what Kelsey sends out for our homeroom lessons and set them up in Canvas. I also work on keeping up with my professional goals on Talent Ed. Lately, I've been planning what art supplies will be needed for spring trimester. To do this, I need a general plan of the curriculum, which I can look onto on Mondays. I can get more specific plans on the following Mondays when the supplies come. I will be spending Mondays distributing them to the individual student bags, which is the RSSL guideline for art. It's really valuable time to concentrate and keep my attention on what I'm doing rather than being distracted by the fact students will be coming soon during the regular day, class day. I really appreciate the chance to concentrate and get work done on Monday. Sincerely, Jennifer Rosenblad. And lastly, received from Sherry Moran, 3/15/2021, 12:34 p.m. Dear board members, first I want to thank you how much I value your time listening to teachers' voices and taking us into account in your planning and decision making. Your job is tougher than it looks because much of it is invisible to the stakeholders you serve. Your sacrifice of your own time and evenings to utilize your varied experience and skills for the betterment of the school district, I want you to know that is appreciated. Sometimes I feel the same because so much of what teachers do is also invisible to the stakeholders we serve. No one sees us working in our homes to grade papers and give thoughtful feedback for every assignment for every student. No one sees us when we plan for every lesson, whether we are present or not. No one sees us attend intervention meetings, IEP 504 meetings, and building and department meetings to understand the needs of some of our special needs students. Neither do they see the many extra one-on-one Google Meets, emails, texts, phone calls, and other help provided to students beyond the class day. No one sees us prepare the many progress reports, nagging notes, and gentle prods that we write to encourage our students to do better than they thought they could. No one sees the cheers and pride in our eyes as students exceed our expectations in trying times, because North Marion students are amazing. Additionally, I've heard from some stakeholders who believe that teachers have Mondays off in CDL, hybrid, or VOP because their child is given the day to work asynchronously. While some students may choose to do nothing on Mondays, teachers keep working. Since we were sent home on March 13th, I think that should be 2020, I have yet to take a Monday off because I've been very busy doing many of the invisible things I previously mentioned. I teach 8 different VOP classes and 9 different CDL classes. While the curriculum in VOP is canned, I must review every lesson and be prepared to answer all questions about the content and assignment instructions for every unit, in addition to manually grade most assignments. Even the tests have essay questions. For CDL, I must do all of this plus develop my own curriculum from scratch, as there are no textbooks in my classes. I've made arrangements, apply for grants and request donations to purchase and assemble kits for my engineering and wood classes so students could do their projects at home. Every trimester I teach different courses, so my curriculum development is ongoing, week after week and trimester after trimester. This is a glimpse into what my Mondays look like, so I would like to disabuse those naysayers of the notion that teachers have Monday off or my evenings free, because that thinking is false. Lastly, I appreciate your time in listening to my thoughts and honoring my work and time. As you know, asked me to teach not only in VOP and CDL, but now add hybrid into the mix. With all my heart, I want to do what is best for the students. But in all honesty, we must remember to do what is best for the teachers too. If you haven't read the book, if you don't feed the teachers, they eat the students. Guide for Successful Administrators and Teachers, 2nd edition. Please put it in your book list soon. We look for administrators and school board to take care of our teachers so that we take care of our students. Best regards and thank you for all you do for North Marion students and teachers. Sherry Moran. I wanted to say thank you for everybody who submitted public comments. I apologize for not being able to get to them all, but they were voluminous, but I do appreciate the sentiment conveyed in them. moving on to section 3, board communication. I would like to give, well, it's not just me, North Miami School Board of Directors would like to give a shout out and a staff appreciation to all of our classified, all of our licensed staff for your dedication to the kids, your willingness to help kids and families get help with food, help in acquiring resources, helping with schoolwork, being there for families. We appreciate how all of our staff work as a team and support each other. This year has not only been, it's been difficult, and the board just wants to recognize how much you have risen to the occasion and give a shout out to you for all of your dedication, all of the hours spent in making sure our kids are still have a contact to a really good educational future. So just wanted to give that shout out. Item B, reminder for school board vacancies. There are 5 positions open for election or re-election. The filing deadline is the 18th. Is that correct? Sure. And there's links on the agenda for how to go about doing those. Moving on to section C. Honestly, I was not on the call on Friday. Was there anything that came up legislatively that you're aware of, Bill, that we should be made aware of?
There's most of the talk was about, or the largest item being talked about on the LPC OSBA call was the money that's being proposed for summer programs. And they have to be officially summer programs with all the correct, whatever ODE requires to be a legit summer program, but there's money coming that will be available for any summer programs that need to qualify for them.
Thanks. That was Bill. Diane, if you're taking notes, I asked him for a slight update. So that's in regards to summer programs and funding from the state level. Moving on to section 4, the consent agenda. Have you guys all had a chance to look over those? Do I hear a motion?
This bill, I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented. And this is Ricardo, all second.
Motion presented by Bill, seconded by Ricardo. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion passes. Moving on to section 5. We have a business bond and budget appropriations update. Linda, are you ready to go on that?
Yes, once I found my unmute button. So here's the spreadsheet for the general fund. Really no big changes, but now that we are going back to hybrid and we'll have more people here, I would imagine our expenses will go up a little more, especially in the supply area. But our ending fund balance is tracking nicely due to some of the savings, especially in substitute costs. Those will start to go up now also. So unless you have any questions, that's all I have on that part. I'm understand that Bill will give a bond update next month after we do our final meeting with the Oversight Committee on Thursday. So I think that's all I have for that. And my next section then is the PERS UAL. So I don't know if you guys had time to look over the PERS UAL bonding consideration. This is something we did back in 2003 that we weren't sure if we should or not. We know it's a risk no matter what you do here. But if you reviewed any of the paperwork, you can see that North Marion has saved over $6 million right now and through 2019, and we're expected to save even more than that before that bond is paid off in 2028, I believe. So there's an opportunity to pool with other districts and school districts are separate than community colleges, to do this again and give it a shot. The probability of this working is 80 to 94% because of the low interest rates right now. So what Ginger and I are asking right now is that you look over the PowerPoint that Carol Samuel gave and the other information I've included on hers, and let us know. Well, we are going to put the resolution on for the April meeting, and you can decide then if it's a go or a not. If we approve that resolution, then we will participate in the pool to try to save our district's money in payment of our per JUA unfunded liability. We need to let the financial people know we are going to move forward after tonight, but know that we are not committed unless we approve the resolution in April. So do you guys have any questions on that now?
So to clarify, Linda, we're basically just giving a verbal agreement of our interest in the program.
Yes,
And then contractual items won't happen until April, is that correct?
that is correct.
Anybody have questions or discussion of?
When was the
Anything for
last
Linda?
time this was started?
2003,
2003?
it was 20 years per liability.
Thank you, Linda, much appreciated.
Okay, I will move forward, hearing no disagreement. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
Alrighty, moving on to item 6, which is board action items related to policies, because we have to take these one at a time. Am I hearing any discussion or motioning?
Was that COVID-19 related leave? I thought that was expiring.
It
Is this a renewal?
No, this is only about adding the definition of sick leave to include childcare when a childcare center closes down. It's literally only that.
Okay,
It's updating the language to include that federal change and the state change.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking on that one.
And it changes the language in all 4 documents, which is why we're doing them all together.
Okay. Let me check one other thing, sorry. This isn't downloading.
You want to do a primary group classification, or you want to do more?
On the
I'd rather do
IK,
my,
Primary group.
yeah.
sorry, this is Crystal, Diane. On the IKFB, there was discussion about Ricardo speaking on the activities of cultural significance from our work session. I don't know if you're prepared, Ricardo? No? Maybe, maybe not, no? Okay, so this is an optional policy, so I personally would like to make a motion that we push this to our next work session, so Ricardo could be duly prepared to talk on this and see if this is something as a board we want to follow on.
So I hear a motion, is there a second?
Christy, I second.
We have a motion and a second, is there any discussion? So this is taking IKFB and moving that forward 1 month, is that correct?
To a
Or
work
to a work session, okay.
So yeah, we can discuss it more.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on that. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, so we will exclude that. That motion carries.
Crystal, can I ask one other question? And Ginger, we can postpone this if you need to. We had talked about the virtual public charter school attendance. Wait, was that the one? The one where they could do online,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
How does that affect our district now that it's mandatory that children be in the classroom? Does CDL, was there an exception for the students that are on CDL, or are they, I'm struggling through this. I'm like, know what I want to say in my mind.
Yeah, so those aren't connected to the policy conversation,
Okay.
but I will address that in my update.
Okay, so that, this
Yeah.
policy will not have bearing on
No, no,
CDL.
this is, we currently don't have a policy, so anyone could walk to the board and say, here's a proposal, and you have to
Mhm.
consider it. And they could say, and I need it in 30 days, and you have no policy that says, no, we need it 6 months,
Okay,
you know, so this is actually to protect the board from when those proposals will come forward and having a process.
okay, I just want to make sure that this wasn't going to change
No.
the dynamic of the school year.
Yeah.
I think I'm good.
Okay. Any other discussion?
This is Bill, and I'll make a motion for the first group, which involves the Family Federal medical leave stuff known as GCBDA. So this is going to take a bit, so bear with me. So I'll make a motion to approve for second reading and adoption policies GCBDA -AR1, GDBDA-AR2, GDBDA-AR4, GBDDAA_AR1 for, I already said it, second reading and adoption.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Crystal will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote on those first. So on our agenda, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, those first 4 items on our agenda. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes 4, motion carries.
Let me just roll through them in groups.
Yeah.
Is that okay with everyone? All right, so this is Bill again. I'll make a motion for adoption, second reading and adoption of policy IJ, school counseling programs, as presented.
It's Crystal, I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. This is for IJ, second reading and adoption. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes 4, motion carries.
That's Bill again. I'll make a motion for second reading and adoption of policy JB, equal education opportunity.
Oh, sorry. Crystal, I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll-
Looking, sorry, I have this, Heidi.
Go ahead.
It says in there, looking at, it says this statement is new, keep ? So I don't know if we need to discuss that.
On the JB,
I missed that.
the district shall develop and implement an equal educational opportunity plan that assures that.
Linda, can you
So-
open that up real quick?
You should see it.
JB?
You should see it. You see it?
Yeah, I think,
At the work
Okay.
session, Heidi, do you recall? I thought we were leaving that piece in there and maybe it just isn't the updated version. Or is this something that we want to take out?
the district, I think the words, this statement is new keep are the words that need to go away. And it should start with the bracket, the district shall develop and implement
Right.
an equal opportunity.
That was a question.
Yeah,
I thought this was supposed to keep,
yes,
right?
yes. So the words, this statement is new keep should go away with the question mark. And then it should start with, the district shall. We're required to do that anyway.
Heidi?
So is that as, so will it read, the district shall develop and implement an educational opportunity plan that assures that no student will be excluded from participating in, and then as it continues, is that how it reads?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So are we still back with the original
We're
still
in the
motion as it exists? Okay.
Is there any more discussion on this motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion carries.
Okay, it's Bill again. Make a motion for second reading and adoption of policy JFCN, threats of violence, as presented.
This is Crystal, and I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion carries.
Okay, Bill again, combining now. So I'll make a motion for second reading and adoption of LBE and LBE-AR public charter schools policy as presented.
Crystal, second. Sorry, I'm skimming over them.
Have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion carries.
My bad, I left one off, so we'll have to do
No,
one
I'm
more.
glad you left that one off. I
Right.
do have discussion on that one.
All right, so let's open discussion with this bill. I'll make a motion for second reading and adoption of LBEA resident student dental for virtual public charter school attendance as policy as presented.
This is
We're gonna
Crystal.
second, and
I'll
then-
second.
Okay, now
And then
we
we
can
can
discuss.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So how is this going to, sorry, this is Crystal. I just want to fully understand how this is going to work. So this doesn't say that we're going to put a cap on the amount of children that we let go to the online academy, or is this that policy? Because I remember we had several more from last work
Yeah.
session.
Yeah, there's a state rule that says once a district has 3%
Mm-hmm.
that it's lost to that it can automatically stop automatic transfers out and say, it stops someone from enrolling in. Is that something that we've practiced? No, we haven't hit that cap yet. So it's been pretty flexible. And there are also hardship rules.
Okay.
Sometimes it's in the student's best interest. Something happens, they need to be in a different place, they need services, or something like they're a professional athlete when they're traveling in Europe and they need to compete, so they need to be online. So there's a lot of, we may not have that service, but there's an provider that does. So there's lots of extenuating cases where, we try to look at things on a case-by-case basis before we do that, and we don't automatically close the door. What we do try to do is to make sure that we are using our staff and our resources properly and not bring in too many people when we don't have the resources to support them. So it's easier to put a cap on people coming in than it is to close the door on people that need to go out for some other reason. And even then, if we put a cap on it, if someone has a hardship and they really need to be here, we open the door. We haven't denied a family that's in great need an opportunity to come in if that's in the best interest of the kid. Sometimes it's just, sometimes we get a random, I want to come here because I want my student to engage in this activity. And that's not a good reason to come into a school and to tax the resources that the district has. If someone says, car crash, domestic issue, blah, 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 whatever, then we'd say, open the door. This child needs something, they have something that can help. They're asking to be here. Okay.
So this policy, this is Crystal, Diane.
Yeah.
So this policy is for resident students wanting to go to a virtual public charter school.
Mm-hmm.
And what's our current cap? 3%, you guys said?
Mm-hmm.
Just to be forthright, I'll probably still vote no on this because I feel like if a parent or a family want their child to go to an online school for whatever reason, that it should be their choice and it shouldn't be subject to a policy of 3%. But I'm fine with moving forward with the vote.
Is there any other discussion on this motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Crystal?
Nay.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion carries.
No.
Moving on to section B, approval of the district academic calendar for 21-22. You guys have all had a chance to look at it.
And David's online if you'd like to use, or David and Crystal can talk about it.
Yeah, why don't you, is
Sure.
David on?
Yeah.
David is on.
right. Yep,
Okay,
I'm right here.
okay.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you just fine.
Wonderful, thank you. Linda, is it possible just to bring up the notes real quick before we dive into this? First of all, thank you everybody for having us in tonight, and just want to start off with a thank you to the calendar committee members. You see a list of them right there. Especially a big thank you to Diane Lauch for all of her help with all of this, but essentially a quick review of the process. We wanted to make sure that we were starting with our values and then working through a process to access some voice and look at different opportunities. And so we had some initial meetings to kind of look at prior year's notes, review those values, make sure that we were going to hit on the contractual obligations, and then to use that information to design a couple different models that the full committee could look at, and then to share those out in advance so that we could then maximize our time. So the values that we really looked for were maximizing student contract days. We can go to 172, but we really wanted 100, pardon me, we could go to 171. We really wanted 172 to maximize those. And then those contractual obligations, we need to have 190 contract days for licensed staff, 1 curriculum day that's teacher directed, grading days at the end of trimesters, and then conferences. And so, our values were really around meeting all those contractual obligations and maximizing student time. Linda, do you mind scrolling for me a little? Second page. So we came up with 2 different possibilities. The first one, calendar A, which is the one that we are recommending, it really was modeled after the prior year calendar, and there was a lot of terrific work that went into that. So we felt confident in that. In fact, we weren't even really able to implement. No, we weren't able to implement it at all due to the fact that we had this response to COVID this year. And so it made a lot of sense to us based on the work that was done in the prior year to give that calendar a shot. And one of the things that we did in this committee is really commit to that notion that we're planning for what we know. And we're all gonna hope that next fall we are back to some vein of normalcy, and that's what we plan for. So that's why we're presenting this particular calendar. This calendar contains all the same key dates, conferences in October and April, in-services prior to student contact, a curriculum day, and then, where we place those conferences, we're in the middle of trimester 1, in the middle of trimester 3, and that's really strategic in terms of giving us enough time on either end there to get to know our students, to get our diagnostics done so that we have some data around our student performance, and then still ample time on the other end to be responsive to that data and to have interventions in place should they be necessary. This calendar does include late start Wednesdays, and it would end on June 15th, starting after Labor Day. And that's something that this district has always valued as a post Labor Day start. We feel good about the balance of days here. Trimester 1 is 57 days, trimester 2 is 57 days, trimester 3 is 58, getting us to that total of 172 and very balanced. And it gives us that 190 for teacher contract. We did look at a second calendar, and there was a neat notion there to add an additional curriculum day based on the district's intentional focus on math achievement. We were analyzing the possible addition of a curriculum day with a focus on our work with the teacher development group. We call it TDG. And really the detractor from that one is it puts us above our threshold for contract days for teachers. So to get back to it, we'd have to subtract a day, and that means getting away from our maximized student contact days. Linda, do you mind going down to the next page, please? So again, this brings us to a team recommendation of calendar A, hitting all those marks and meeting those district values and the contractual requirements. Some of the other points that came up that we'll have to consider later. Late start Wednesdays, those are really important way for us to be able to support teacher development, but it certainly happens at the cost of student instructional time. And so something we want to put a lens on and make sure that's still the right practice. The second notion that came up was, what is the desired outcomes of conferences? And is the possibility of changing the structure in the future, would that allow us to have a more flexible schedule and maybe even maximize more student contact time by looking at maybe some more non-traditional methods for conferences, and certainly making sure that we look at conferences through an equity lens, and one that maybe says, is what we're doing now meeting the needs of all stakeholders? We do typically have great turnout, but certainly want to use that equity lens to look at our people getting what they want out of these conferences. And then also we did add some language to the conferences that addresses equity through student family care and connection, and making that an emphasis of our conferences moving forward. And then the final thing to consider is that back to school night. Again, we plan for what we know. And so we have one on our horizon line, but it may be impacted, and we'll have to consider potential COVID restrictions and implications at that time. So that was really the process. That was really the people that were involved, our values, and what we're recommending. So at this point, Linda, if you could jump back to the calendar. This really sums it up. You can see we start with professional development before Labor Day. Post Labor Day, we on that 7th of September, we'll have orientation days for 6th and 9th grade. And then we have the beginning of trimester 1 on the 8th. And then you can see we go into October with our conferences. In November, we have the typical holidays. And then in December, we end trimester 3 on a Friday. We would have a grade at the end of Monday, but it still gives us a good solid 2 weeks before the winter break. So it's a very we really strive to have uninterrupted time, and that's a really nice trimester 1 with some of those holidays in there and avoiding some interruptions, giving us a good start to trimester 2. And then January, February, and into March, you can see there's just a nice chunk of great instructional time that is really uninterrupted. We do end close to spring break with the end of trimester 2. It's just the way this year falls in order to get it balanced out. And then we come back to spring break with that curriculum day, which is the contractual obligation with our union. And that's a nice place to have it right there. The logic around that is that it really helps people prepare for that third trimester, that final push. And then we go April and May and into June, some more great instructional time with conferences in there. Again, with that end date on the 15th, grading on 16th of June, and then some makeup days there at the end. Any questions or comments?
I would say that the calendar committee worked really hard to keep in mind our students first, and that we just really strive to balance the trimesters, which is why we moved the grading days. In saying that, I would say in the future, and maybe this is more for Ginger, if we could get a contract of 191 days with the 172, I would be more than willing to support a math dedicated curriculum day, which I really wanted to see on the 12th, but I wasn't willing to do it to sacrifice the in-person instruction. So that could be something to consider in the future. The other thing is you know, with the work that the district admin and staff will do, and Dave is great, he's going to bring this up again, is like the equity lens with parent-teacher conferences. Lately, I've heard a lot of like, that's how we've always done it, and that's how other districts are doing it, but what serves our district best and our population? And that's what I would really like to see, not only with the late start Wednesdays, which I'm a sleep-in kind of a girl, so I get that, but also with our parent-teacher conferences. Are they really structured where they're giving our parents the adequate support they need to be able to attend those days? And that's definitely the equity lens that I would want to bring for especially our multi-parent working household, oftentimes more than one job. I want to make sure that we're giving them ample opportunity to attend those. So that's just my little thing. I think this is a fantastic, the calendar committee was absolutely amazing to work with. And so in saying that, you know, I'll make a motion that we approve the calendar.
The motion, do I hear a second?
And this is Ricardo Hall, second.
Have a second from Ricardo. Is there any discussion?
I guess I would like to just bring up the point that both the curricular or the calendar committee and then in our open comments today are referencing either the late start Wednesday or the Monday work days that are happening now. And so, I mean, the calendar committee identified those as areas for follow-up. So I guess how do we follow up and what's the right way to do that so that we're addressing this moving forward?
We asked the calendar committee to continue the conversation and not to stop with this. So we'd ask the calendar committee to, and David's chairing the calendar committee this year. So David will be charged with gathering the calendar committee to discuss these issues and then report back to us progress. And maybe we could check in to make sure that we're addressing the questions that are being raised and giving them feedback on the information that we need to be reported to us. Would that be helpful, David?
Oh, I think that's exciting work. Absolutely. Again, there's that notion of if we keep doing what we've always been doing, we'll keep getting what we've always been getting. And you know, it's always worth putting a lens on something to see if it's the right outcome, if it is, you know, what we want, or if there is a way to do it that meets our diverse stakeholders' needs any better. And honestly, it's through the exploration and the reflection that we do the deep learning, and that's a fun process. And I really am excited about the people on that team and that process. So yes.
Thank you again so much for all your work, the calendar committee. I know that it was, you know, long meeting and kind of can be a long process, especially when I asked a bunch of questions. So I thank you for that. Oh, and by the way, Diane, this is Crystal. Sorry.
So is there any more discussion on the motion at hand? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christy?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion carries with that adoption of that calendar. Thank you, David, for providing that, that presentation for us and for chairing that committee this year. Also wanted to note to Diane that we need to add this to a future meeting.
Mhm.
Is there a recommendation of time?
May.
May? Okay. So if you could note that we could add that in for an update in May, Diane, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Got it.
All right, moving on to section C, approval of superintendent evaluation and contract renewal.
What are we doing next? Are we handling this?
Do we need to?
You have to vote.
Oh.
We need a motion and a vote to approve the contract with the edits that you provided for me tonight, and then a contract renewal.
Okay. So just procedural, then. So contract will get to, right?
Yeah.
So we'll present the contract.
Contract is in force.
Right, the current contract is there until June 30th.
Yep.
Okay.
And so this is a renewal of
So
that
the
contract.
request was for me to negotiate and bring back to the board a new updated contract. I'll just point out that with the current retirement sunsetting in 2024,
4.
right? So that will be in play now with this next contract renewal we'll be bumping into that state. So there'll be some interesting wordage that we'll come up with and propose to the board on how that will flow as we get into that timing. And of course, then the law will change as soon as we all agree on the wordage. We'll change the law and then we'll do it again. Right. So that's the deal.
For background, Senate Bill 1049 allowed the work back for because of the shortage of supply people. So it sunsets on December 31st and January 1st, the old rules kick in,
Okay.
which allow retirees to work a half a year. So that would complete that school year.
Okay.
Allow for transition.
So I'm looking for motion.
For the second half of the eval, we have an eval that we're going to ask Glenn to make an amendment. So what I'll make a motion that we approve the eval with Glenn making an amendment to section 5 as discussed by the board, and then it'll be approved.
I'll second that. Do I need to add that it was an executive session that
That's what
we
I'm kind of.
discussed it?
So you're approving the evaluation in one motion and not the contract renewal. Is
The
that
contract renewal, we're going to,
Let's go through
Delay.
the contract.
or sorry, the contract.
How does that work?
We
That's why-
Diane clarified me. We need a contract renewal tonight, correct?
I'm
You
not-
need it by the end of March.
Okay. So I thought we were dealing with it tonight.
So-
Not necessarily the language of the contract. That can be.
Okay, so we're going to continue the current contract until we propose to you an amended contract.
Mhm.
Is that fair to say?
You're receiving approval to make any adjustments to the contract necessary.
Now I got.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. So I don't want to make that motion, right? Because this is the board asking me to amend the contract.
Negotiate the contract? Because don't we still have to vote on it?
Well, amend and bring it back to the board, but now I'm confused again. Because what Diane just said.
I'm
Yeah,
so
'cause
confused.
Because I didn't think it would needed to be done because it's a 3-year contract. And it's still
Mhm.
rolling.
Yeah, that's how I
So
remember.
I don't understand why why
Yeah.
there's an end of March date when your contract goes for, has another 2 years left on it. I'm confused.
Yeah, I thought
So-
it was we approved the evaluation because the contract
Yeah.
still is in play.
Now, normally we update the contract every year with whatever new language and new laws.
Right,
and
but that's
whatever.
brought back to us after we have time to review it.
Right.
Because this is like a
But until
blind
that-
vote.
until
So,
that
so
happens-
Diane, could I ask you for a point of order then? What exactly do you need in terms of, we have a motion on the table with the approval of the evaluation. What beyond that do you need?
Well, following kind of our procedures like we do every year, we do the the contract renewal in March. And I know that I feel like we're kind of behind one meeting. Because of the ice storms. And so I think it's hard to do both. And you are right. Her contract is through, I think, 2022, but typically this time of year, you would extend it out a year.
So can I make a new motion? That
So you want to
Well,
withdraw your,
mine didn't get seconded,
There is
Yeah, I
a
guess-
motion on it.
but it didn't get seconded. So my motion now fails.
So we'll
Sounds so bad.
declare Bill's motion dead.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the superintendent's evaluation. And we will ask Bill to go do the contract paperwork and submit that for an April approval.
Okay, does that meet what you need, Diane?
That'll
Because she's
work.
still in the contract.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty, so we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I second. Christie.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Ricardo,
Aye.
Christy,
Aye.
Crystal,
Aye.
Heidi,
I,
Jason,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
chair votes for, motion carries.
And then I would just add as Crystal that we make sure that that's on our April board meeting.
We can do that.
This is
All right.
Diane.
Yeah, go ahead, Diane.
So I feel like we had a motion on the table to approve the superintendent's evaluation. And I thought I heard Heidi second it, but you had indicated that motion is dead.
I didn't hear Heidi second
I
it.
didn't either.
Okay.
I did not second it.
Okay, thank you. So I still feel like we need a motion to approve. We're just approving the evaluation and we're going to come back in April and do the contract renewal, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Does that still keep us in our timeline as established by our own district guidelines?
Yes, I think that will work.
Okay.
Let's do this one.
1 month
Well,
later.
Thank you, Diane, for the
Not bad.
clarification. I really appreciate it. Okay, moving on, so item D, we have moved to the next work session, so that is not an item on here. Before we move on to superintendent and district operations, I wanted to interject in here and also give a shout out to our admin who have also been working tirelessly, also been putting in tremendous hours, tremendous effort to transition us from, one place to another, but are now working to get our kids in seats, in classrooms in this beautiful new facility. So I would like to give a shout out and give some appreciation from the board at large for all the work that they've done too. So with that, we'll move on to superintendent district operations. And do you have anything to start off with, Ginger, prior to Dave?
No, I
Tammy?
think that what you just said was critical. The people that are giving these presentations now have put in so much work this year. So thank you for mentioning that before they began their presentations. I'd like them to go ahead and start. I'll give, I can see after you learn about the secondary programs and what's happening, that they work with their staff very hard to develop collaboratively. You'll get an instructional minute reports from the administrators that worked on that and with Linda's help. And I'll give you a quick negotiations update. We worked very hard with the association to come up with terms and we were successful. And then I'll give you an update on what was released today by ODE, just a brief one. So,
Okay.
but I want to start, let everyone else do their part first.
Okay, so Dave and Tammy, I guess you guys are up if you're ready.
We are
Yes.
ready.
Perfect.
Well, good evening, everyone. Most of you know me, but my name's Tammy Bottinger, and I'm one of the principals at North Marion Middle School. We're here tonight. I am here tonight with David Sheldon, who is the other principal. We want to thank our board and our community for allowing us this opportunity to present our plan. Yes, we've worked very hard on it, but we're also very proud of it. I also want to give a huge thanks to the elementary staff. They are the ones that forged the way for us. They were able to troubleshoot a lot of things along the way, and they so graciously passed their ideas to us. You know, once Governor Brown changed the metrics, we quickly launched into creation mode. Our model was definitely informed by staff and families, and of course, by the guidance of ODE and the Oregon Health Authority. You can change the slide. You're on teamwork. Stay right there. Teamwork is the number 2. Perfect. So we knew a few things for certain as we began our design. We knew it was important to listen to staff, including union representation. We knew it was important to provide an equitable learning experience for both hybrid and our CDL students. We knew it was important to align with the high school. We had to do this to support our families as well as help with transportation. Our goal was to empower these teams and to foster distributive leadership. So you'll see the 3 teams that we have, number one, and number 1. I'm not sure what happened there. But our first team, they were all important. Let's put it that way. Our first team was our instructional leadership team. This team focused greatly and intensely on researching the best instructional models for best practices in this particular model that we'll talk about just a little bit later that we were going to roll out. Our hybrid planning team, well, they focused more on the operational needs, transitioning, bell schedules, things, student orientation, handbooks, and things like that. And I want to thank all of these people that gave so much time. You'll see their names mentioned. I'm not going to read them, but we were so grateful to have all their representation. Finally, we knew it was important to get middle school staff input. We know that we're only as good as those that support us. And so we did a lot of discussion, breakout sessions for many, many weeks, and took many of the suggestions of our staff. Next slide, please. So in February, we were able to send out our survey to our families, asking them whether they wanted to return in hybrid or return in CDL. We were thrilled. We had 357 respondents on a survey out of 412. The rest of them we called. We wanted to make sure everybody received exactly the learning plan that they wanted. This is kind of hard to read, but in 6th grade, you see, if you can see, or I'll read it, 43% of our of our families wanted CDL, and 57% wanted hybrid. In 7th grade, 51 wanted CDL and 49 wanted hybrid. And in 8th grade, it was an even split. It was a 50-50 split. 50 wanted hybrid, 50 wanted CDL. And you can see overall, overall our school total, when we added them together, was literally a 50-50 split. This kind of stuff helped us when we came to staffing. We knew that we had to have this input from the families to make it successful for our staff as well as for them. Now, if you break it down by demographics, this is fascinating. I'm just on grade 6 here. 45% of our Hispanic, and it's third up from the bottom, population wanted hybrid, while the other 55% wished to remain in CDL. Caucasian, we had 74% wanted hybrid, while 26% wanted CDL. And then you can read the difference with the female and the male, and those are numbers of respondents. Next slide. In 7th grade, it was much the same, just a little bit different. Our Caucasian families, 62% wanted hybrid, while 38% wanted to remain in CDL. Our Hispanic families, and this is notable, 39% wanted hybrid, while 61% wanted to remain in CDL. And then again, you can see the female and the male differences. They're pretty equal. Although I think parents wanted their boys in school just a little bit more. Now, if we look at 8th grade, again, for the Caucasian, 59% want hybrid, 41% wanted CDL. For the Hispanic population, 46% wanted hybrid and 54% wanted CDL. And although it's not written there, I thought this was good information to give you. So total for all grades. For hybrid, our Caucasian families, 65% of them want their students to return to hybrid learning, while 35% want them to stay in CDL. Our Hispanic population indicated that 43% of them wanted them to return to hybrid, so less. And total for CDL was 57%. This is important because it will roll into why we made some of the decisions with our instructional models as we continue. And now I'll turn it over to Dave to talk about our operational context.
All right, so the operational context, we want to separate the instructional from the operational. I mean, they obviously integrate together in order to make a well-functioning school. But the operational tells us the minutia of how we do our daily business. And so along that line, we wanted to make sure that we had really mined into the small details so that we could tell our story. And so that anybody that wanted to be able to know the story could have a good reference point to go back and find the answers that they want. Linda, do you have the ability to click on the link for staff handbook? Is that a live link in there? The staff handbook above? If you don't, that's okay. But if we just go back to that slide, then, well, look, I took you all over the place by asking that, didn't I?
Sorry, I didn't see a link, Dave.
That's okay. Those were live links that we were going to take you all into, but it's absolutely okay. I can just do a quick one over. Our staff handbook was designed to be a robust reference guide, and we put it together with an entire table of contents, and it turned out to be about 19 pages. And again, it really breaks things down into every single little component. And we have given that to our staff and asked them to go through it, and then we have some opportunities provided to really make sure that they know it well. And then we are going to be sending home a student handbook this week. And it wasn't so long ago that all this planning happened. And like Tammy was referencing, when you do the work right, it takes time. And so we know that the information still has yet to be communicated to any great depth, but that's part of our plan for this week. And again, the reason for that is because the genesis of this really took nurturing, and now we're at a place where we can begin to communicate it in its entirety. And so the family and student handbook is going to be going home this Thursday in a packet that's going to contain a lot of materials for our families to, again, tell our story. And so you've got the staff handbook, you've got the student handbook, really framed for those particular audiences so that they can access the story that is going to be the middle school. We put together a bell schedule. And again, this mirrors the bell schedule at the high school. And it really does adhere to maintaining the quantity of instructional minutes that we've been offering for this year. We didn't want to lessen that. And we also met those contractual obligations of duty-free lunch for our licensed and really hit on the key markers of safety. And if I had that opportunity to walk you through those handbooks, that would be some of what we would highlight is just all the attention and detail towards safety. we want our staff and we want our students to feel safe in all of this. We realize that there is a spectrum of beliefs and concerns around COVID and how to respond to it. And we respect all of them. And so these handbooks were designed to help ease everybody into that. And that bell schedule really facilitates a lot of what we can do safely. It has transition periods that are long enough to allow for cleaning and to allow for the school to function. We do want, again, coming back to that notion of a story, we want to share that with people in a more personal way. And so Ms. Bodinger and I will be hosting a virtual night on April 5th at 6 p.m. And we are sending home a link to that and would invite anyone from our community to come, and this will just be a Q&A with us, an opportunity to mine into any of their questions. Next slide, please.
And we're so looking forward to that. We can hardly wait. So we knew one of the most important things that we had to do was come up with a good teaching model. And after looking at a variety of instructional models, and you cannot believe what's out there, there's a lot of them. The one that we realized was the best for our district, and the high school is also using it, is called the concurrent teaching model. And what that is a model where teachers actually provide instruction for students in person and online simultaneously. Now I'm telling you, this requires some magic, definite magic for our teachers to be able to manipulate this. And we knew they needed some training. It requires them to develop a whole lot of new technology skills. And in fact, our instructional coaches at the middle school are brilliant. And they have literally set up simulation labs for our teachers during this planning week to go in and practice using this tech. We want it to seem as real as possible for both groups of kids. And we want to give both groups of kids equal opportunity to speak and to hear. We knew that it had to be equitable for both. We're gonna have to carve a little bit of time out for both, but we think we have a really great plan. We needed to understand the safety guidelines, and we know the importance of them, and we feel very secure in the plan that we have created. One of the biggest things, I'm not sure, Linda, if you can click on that link. If not, no worries. Oh my gosh, yay, no, that's okay, no worries. It looked like a link you could click on. So going with that, it's little things, and I want to give an example because it just kind of indicates the depth that we went into to research the tips and tricks that we are giving to our teachers. Something as simple as if you were in a hybrid classroom, you have students in front of you, picture this, and then you have CDL kids that are watching you, and we've positioned their computer in a spot where it looks like they are a member of that classroom. Now, a CDL student asks a question. The teacher can't just answer that question because there's a very real possibility that the hybrid children didn't hear the question. So we are training our teachers. This is just one thing. There are many, many things. Training our teachers that it's imperative that they repeat the question prior to answering it, so all students have context of what the question was about. Another thing that we believe in down at the bottom of this slide is we believe in clear and consistent routines for middle school children. We know that they need this now more than ever. So we will open our classes the same way, we will close them the same way, and we have deliberate time set aside for both of these groups. This is continuation. Every single child will attend 4 periods every single day. So CDL kids will attend at home all 4 days. Hybrid kids will attend 2 days a week in different cohorts. We mixed our cohorts. We made sure they included 6, 7, and 8, and they are very safe. They are in their own separate hallways, separate bathrooms, on down the line, and Dave will cover that a little bit more. Cohort A is going to come in Tuesday and Thursday, cohort B Wednesday, Friday. And then I think the rest is explained. One of the biggest things is the last bullet. We went round and round about this. You'll find that a lot of schools are having the teachers transition. Our teachers, their hearts, our staff, when we presented that, they were not happy. They know developmental needs of middle school students. They are different. And they're semi-non-compliant, FYI. So we knew that we would have to find a way to allow our students to move. They have to move. And so we developed a system for them transitioning between classes so they can get up and walk safely. We have them color-coded and masked. And so we're really thrilled about that decision. And we think it's the right one developmentally for our kiddos. Dave?
All right, so like Tammy was just talking about, in that instructional model of concurrent teaching, you're going to need to have the right technology. And so we are working with our teachers, and we're providing intentional professional development around what does it look and sound like in order to maintain that equity and access. How do you create an instruction station? And how do we have the right hardware and the right software that are there? And again, we come back to that equity and access. Our goal is to provide the same experience for those who are at home as those who are in the classroom, and for it to be a robust and rich experience. And again, like Tammy was alluding to, there's a lot of techniques there, repeating questions. We're buying everybody a Bluetooth headset so that there's very clear audio for those who are both in the class and at home. Every teacher has dual monitors, and there's many other techniques that we're going to be using. So you can see on the right side here all the technology that's going to be required. Now, in addition to this, our teachers have been innovators. We cannot brag enough on the teachers at North Marion. You know, I remember being on interview committees in years past, and you know, North Marion has always had an emphasis on technology. And I remember asking in some of those interview committees, you know, how do you use technology in the classroom? And what we were looking for was a deviation from just, you know, looking things up on Google. But how do you really assess student learning? How do you monitor and provide feedback and give opportunities for project-based learning and enable student voice, you know, and agency over their own learning through technology? And my goodness, our teachers have really risen to the occasion this year and learned all sorts of amazing tools from the learning management system to a lot of the different tools like Pear Deck and Flipgrid and all these other technology pieces. And so as we begin to implement this, you know, our in-person students and our at-home students will continue to be using technology. And so that instruction station is important, and the non-negotiables of the technology is there. But as our teachers are innovators, they will also continue to experiment with and use new technologies. One of these might be, as an example, a Padlet, which, you know, allows them to actually manually inscribe on the Padlet, and then you can see their writing. We've got some teachers that are exploring the use of remote cameras and how to position those. And so again, our teachers are continuing to explore and innovate with both the hardware and the software. And I know I can speak to this K through 12 because it's been a shared experience. Next slide, please. Again, we've been talking about safety, and safety is one of our primary concerns. And we have signage all over the school, and we are going to be going through some orientation days virtually and in person, and teaching everyone those routines and rituals that Tammy was referencing, and specifically around safety. What does proper mask wearing look like? What is social distancing? You know, how do we practice good hygiene? We've got directional markers and arrows all over the floor. And then we've bought these new units to really emphasize sanitation and disinfection. You can see we call that one the R2 unit because it looks a little bit like R2D2 if he was to do some cleaning. We also have these UV light boxes that you can put the Chromebooks into, and they sanitize them. You know, I think different schools call them different things. We stole from the intermediate school. They like to call them the Easy Bake Ovens. So we've got our R2D2 unit and our Easy Bake Oven, all for the purposes of sanitizing. And then, you know, when students do transition, our teachers have risen to the occasion. I can't emphasize enough how incredible our teachers are, and the tools that they've learned, and what they're willing to do to make sure that learning happens. And so we've got these little mops with these little refillable reservoirs, and we're going to be cleaning between each use of class. And so, you know, that's just what the educators here at North Marion do, is they go above and beyond. All right, next slide. All right, so
absolutely, Dave. This is my slide.
Okay.
You hit the last one. I'm sorry. So yeah, we are so excited with what our staff is able to do, and I know Dave talked about that little Swifter mop that goes on the desk. They did that, and they learned that, and they adopted that because they wanted the students to transition. They knew the importance of it. And we also know the importance of getting our teachers fully ready so they're able to help our children. So on March 30th through April 2nd, we will have planning days, but learning won't cease. Students will still continue to learn, and they're doing actually some really cool things. So we knew that engagement was the name of the game. So daily, they will meet in homeroom. And that'll be from 9 to 9:30. They're all getting their schedules for these days as well, all mapped out. And what they'll do in there is they'll receive instruction. They're going to receive instruction on things like social emotional learning, college and career readiness. They're going to get into that program, which is called Naviance. And they're also going to do forecasting. And I'm so excited about forecasting because I think this is the first time the middle school has been able to forecast online. So we've been working for it. It feeds into high school beautifully. It's a model we want. They need little voices at the middle school. And so we're very happy that we gave that to them. They'll also be meeting their Tri-3 teachers and receiving a sort of challenge. So they will attend their Tri-3 classes every day. It'll be a different class. So on Tuesday, they will go to period 1, Wednesday, period 2, and so forth. And those teachers will review a few of the class details with them, welcome them, and give them a little challenge to take on for the rest of the week. Again, we're really going to focus on student safety. It's very, very important. In fact, we are rolling out some things for our staff that we're very proud of. All of our staff are going to front and center on their Canvas pages have help a Lines for Life button, as well as Safe Oregon buttons for the kids to see if in fact they need help. Our counselor is outstanding. I'm just gonna say it. She's the best I've ever worked with in my career. And we're so happy to have her. And these are some of her ideas. She is running robust groups with our kids, everything from friendship groups to just coffee chat. And kids are flocking to her. And we can't think of anything more that we want at the middle school as we return. We also know that staff preparation is big, and so we've already reviewed this, the safety training. We want them to have some planning time with their PLCs. That's important to us. They're not going to deviate from teaching standards. They're still going to do standard instruction, but it has to look a little bit different, a little bit softer, and a little bit slower in this particular model. We also know the importance, and don't click on that link, you don't have to, of staff wellness. we need to make sure we take care of them so they can take care of our kids. And they are going to do things like their own personal cards that set them up for reflection and success. And we're just really excited about everything that we're doing on those days. And Dave, go ahead and you can do this last slide.
Okay. All right, so here we are at the end, and this is kind of going over the first days of hybrid starting April 6th through 9th. And so we want to recognize that our sixth graders haven't been in the building yet. And so we want to have a couple of days with them. So on Tuesday, April 6th, we're going to welcome back the sixth grade cohort A, and on Wednesday, April 7th, sixth grade cohort B. And the sixth grade team is planning just some little opportunities for them. Again, we have to be cognizant there are CDL students that still need instruction that day. And so our teachers are working hard to design some opportunities for learning, but then also some independent learning time. And then during that independent time, they're gonna try to take the students that are in the building and really make sure they know their way around and that they know how to have a positive experience in the building. I have a sixth grade daughter this year. And I remember before she went back to school, my wife said, boy, I hope that the school has, a way of showing her around because she doesn't even know the building. And so, that just resonates with me as someone who's worked with middle school students for a long time, but also as a father of a middle school student now. And so we just want to make sure that our sixth graders have an early opportunity. And then we're going to bring the seventh and eighth graders back with sixth graders again on Thursday and Friday. And again, CDL instruction will occur during all of those. And so, again, we are just so excited to see students in the building. It feels good. Tammy and I have been working in the building for months, and as other people come in, we continue to have conversations with them. And usually it centers on just how good it feels to be back in the building. So we're excited to share that with our students. So,
and we're, can I add one other thing?
Yeah, but just, so thank you, everybody. Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to say is that we're also, we've really been working hard, and we're so pleased that we're able to offer this model a full 2 weeks before the governor's recommendations. So we're very proud of that fact.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. Are there any questions?
Right.
No, I just appreciate, it's Crystal. I just appreciate how detailed and informative that this was.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really a nod back to those teams that we talked about at the beginning. We could not have done this on our own, and it's been a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your time.
Okay. Deanne, and Glenn, are you ready?
Deanne is, I think Glenn finished off up the field and I think he headed home.
Yep.
He's been pretty busy. So I'm ready. So first of all, again, like everybody else has said, I want to thank you to give us this opportunity to explain what we're planning for our hybrid and our CDL learning. Like Tammy has said, thanks to the intermediate and primary buildings for laying the ground rules and experimenting with the process and helping us guide our decisions, even though we are in two different worlds. At least it puts down the ground for where we can move forward and apply to our individual buildings. So a lot of this has been said by Tammy and David, because we do collaborate because we are a secondary level, and we want to make sure that we are doing a few things the same, because we do affect some of the same family members. And so we want to make sure that we are consistent across the board. So again, in compliance with the RSSL guidelines, and we are trying to get as many voices at the table for this process. One of the voices is our instructional leaders. They gather the information and present ideas to their department members. And this is how we get a streamline of staff input. And it's a continual conversation between the instructional leaders and myself within their departments. And so we meet every other week, and I present information to them. They take it back to their departments, and then they come back and we discuss it and make some changes to our plans that we've had in place. The next one is our hybrid focus group. This group of people consists of teachers, classified staff. We have a representation from tribal council. We have a parent, and we have students. So as we started meeting, we were finding out that this work was very intense and took a lot of time that we really didn't have. So we looked at our group, and we divided into two groups. We have the instructional team. This team was designed and discussed calendars, trainings, a bell schedule, reviewed best practices for concurrent teaching. So you can see the list of members of this team. This team worked diligently on what the teachers need, what our students need for our trainings, and when is the best time to provide that training for our students as we return to hybrid or start hybrid. Our second group was our operational team. This group designed the maps, the cleaning protocols, the safety protocols, the students' orientation. They worked on a handbook. They worked on a PowerPoint presentation. This group got down and dirty. They did all of the little pieces that everybody wanted to be a part of, but they took it and broke it down with the guidance of Mitch and Glenn, and really fine-tuned all of our pieces. Then we came back as a whole group and presented both ends, and this is where we're at. So first of all, we had to do our survey to find out how many students was going to come back. Thanks, Linda, for making that big. We had to postpone our survey date that we were sending it out because we had the ice. And so we sent it out as soon as we got back to school. And as you can see, there was a lot of ninth graders that completed the the survey. 40, I'm trying to make mine bigger so I can see it. We also have to put in account our VOP students. We have 77, about 68 students in VOP, so we have to put that into account. So we have about 48% that want to come back for hybrid, 48 for CDL, and then we have our VOP, and we have a small number of students that take both the VOP and CDL classes to meet the requirements. And then the next graph on that page is the demographics. So as you can tell, there is 50 students, Hispanic, that wants to come, that wants to stay at CDL. And there's, in the Caucasians, there is less that want to stay in CDL, they want to come back to hybrid. You want to go to the next one? So then we look at the 10th graders. We have a few more that are in the VOP. And so we had a couple that filled out both surveys to be in both models. And so we put them in the hybrid. The hybrid numbers are 36.7% that want hybrid and 53.1% that want CDL. And if we move over to our demographics, it's the same kind of track record. More of the Hispanic families would like to stay at CDL, and more of the Caucasians would like to go to hybrid. And then we go to our 11th graders. 52% want hybrid, and 44.4% want CDL. And again, our demographics are pretty much the same. With our seniors, and this is not surprising statewide. Majority of seniors want to just stay where they're at. It might not be the best thing for them, as we know, but they like to stay as is. They have other variables that are happening. They are taking care of younger siblings through this, this process. A lot of them started working, and so they have a more flexible schedule if they stay at CDL. And so 24% of our seniors are coming back to hybrid, and 68.4% are coming back, are staying at CDL, and our VOP students. And again, Hispanic is more staying at CDL, and this is where the Caucasian has changed to where there's more Hispanics that wants to go to CDL. And then we look at our school-wide. We have 39.1 that wants to go to hybrid, and 51.7 wants to go to CDL. And again, the Hispanic and Caucasians. One thing I was pretty excited about seeing here is that we had 82% respond to our survey. And normally we do not get high numbers of responses, but to me, that was really big. We hounded parents and students, and we just continue to be on them and asking them to fill out the survey. And we do have a few parents that, since the survey has closed, has asked to go to hybrids because they did not have an opportunity to fill out the survey. And we're putting on a waiting list, and we're putting them into hybrid as soon as we can. So even though we call it a waiting list, they are still being added daily to the hybrid list. So those numbers are changing, but that's where we're at right now. So the next slide is, again, the concurrent teaching model that the middle school and we've been talking about. Teachers need to develop some new skills with technology. Our classrooms are different. Our classrooms have technology that they have not seen before. We have the interactive TV that they don't know how to use, and how it really benefits the concurrent teaching, because it has it projects more and it interacts more, and the students will get more accountability of their own learning because they can interact within the screens. We have equity access to all students with the CDL and hybrid, the planning and assessment and feedback, and understanding there are SSL safety guidelines and compliances during the instruction. All students will attend 4 periods and advisory every day from Tuesday to Friday. Again, we have the A-B cohorts. A will attend Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Bs will attend in person on Wednesdays and Fridays. Just like the middle school model, if they are not on campus, they will be joining virtually live sessions. And even if they are in comprehensive distance learning, they will be attending the live sessions. Next one, Linda. So our operational piece, we looked at multiple things. We looked at the middle school handbook. We looked at the primary and elementary PowerPoint for their staff, and our staff had decided that they want to do both. They want to create a handbook for our staff, And they also want to do a presentation for the students and parents. So we are creating a PowerPoint for that. And I'll go into a little bit more about what that would look like. We also created a day in the life of a student, what it looks like from getting ready for bed the night before and what needs to be charged and making sure everything's up and running, to coming to school, what's happening during the school day, to the time they leave the school and be ready for their class the next day. So when you get an opportunity, maybe you can take a look at that. And those are two documents that are still in draft, working, changing as some of the guidelines are changing and some of the issues that come up in our conversations with the staff that we need to address. The bell schedule, the instructional minutes is 60 per class period with lunch and advisory for 30 minutes. This aligns with the middle school on our start times and end times. There is a 30-minute duty-free for lunch for licensed staff, and the instructional assistants and admin would be supervising the students during lunch. But that's the same equity access. Our goal is to provide an equitable experience for all students. Professional development will focus on techniques for equitable access, such as repeating all questions, dual monitoring, and other techniques. This is our focus, is equitable access for all. So I started a little bit talking about the technology that's in the classroom. Like all teachers, they all have their laptops. We have the interactive TV and projectors. Our classrooms have microphones, and so the sound in the classroom can be heard very clearly and through the computer. We could have second screens if needed, the surround sound speakers, and a document camera if they want one. And every teacher will have an instructional station in the classroom and proper hardware to meet concurrent teaching needs. We have the safety protocols, a lot like what David said. We have the mask wearing, the social distancing, the hygienes, the two-way traffic divide by markings. We have painter's tape running down the middle of the hall. It's tape running down the middle of the hall of a brand new hall that no kids have been in. So it's just kind of something that we're working on. We're seeing how long the tape lasts with all the cleaning and how often we are going to need to replace it throughout the weeks. Again, we have the UV light boxes for technology and sanitizing machines. So our planning day for staff and students, again, like all the other buildings, it is a chance for teachers to reassign their classrooms to meet the cohorts and support in PD, time assurance, compliance. This is, you guys have all heard. So I don't know if I really need to repeat everything again. But this is one thing that, go on to the next slide, Linda, please. This is something that our staff had felt very strongly about. They really they wanted to meet with the kids as much as possible. So originally our discussion was that we would be meeting for advisory and giving some cell and some trainings for safety just through an advisory. But our teachers really wanted to meet with their classes for the first time. A lot of them, these are brand new classes and brand new students. And they felt that this gave them the opportunity to start the process of what class expectations are, what the safety protocols are, what is the transition through the hallways going to be. They felt by meeting with their class, they would be able to do what they would normally do the first day of class, the classroom expectations. So they said that they want to meet with advisory first and second period on Tuesday and Thursday. And then on Wednesday and Friday, they're going to meet with their advisories and third and fourth period. So they'll have 2 days to talk to their students, get to know their students, introduce themselves to their students, and lay out some of the expectations that are coming in. So when we start on the 6th, we don't have to spend a whole period talking about all of these. They can just recap what they've done in those 2 days, and then they're able to move on and start their teaching for their subject content. And that they were very strong about that. So this is a sample of what it looks like. It would be a live virtual recorded session for all students, whether they are a hybrid student or a CDL student. And it's basically a half hour with a 5-minute break in between each one. So that is what the high school is planning on doing. And these are some nice pictures that I took of our new building, because kids don't know what it looks like. We are bringing them all in, you know, depending on the cohort. We talked about bringing in just the freshmen, like bringing them in and letting them know what the building looks like. But then we all looked at each other and said, nobody knows what this building looks like. So let's bring them all in and do the trainings all together, and making sure that they know how to get around our building, which they'll get a map in their packet and where their teachers are, and they'll be able to recognize the layout. So again, thank you for allowing us to talk about what our hybrid plans are. And I'd like to know if you guys have any questions. I'm here to answer them.
Thank you so much, Deanne, for the very detailed presentation, and good luck on your first day. You finally get students into your building that you've been waiting for. I hope you guys have a fabulous first day.
Thank you. I am so excited about having them here. Nothing like a brand new building and no kids. There's something wrong about that.
Okay, well, thank you, Deanne.
Thank you, Deanne.
Okay, next up is instructional minutes. Sherry, are you available for that?
I am here, and Linda and I worked together on this, so we're going to co-team this presentation. It's actually Linda's document that will be
Perfect.
shown. So I was in an ODE session today where I heard the phrase, "This is a year like no other," and nothing more real could be spoken. So from the very beginning of the year, I would like to say that we followed every ounce of guidance put forth by the state with fidelity as far as our instructional time goes. And so when it came time to break down our CDL schedule and all of the synchronous versus asynchronous, teacher facilitated, applied learning into instructional hours, I really wanted to rely on the advice of the Division 22 team at ODE to make sure we were doing this correctly. And so, because all in all, what really matters is that we are meeting our instructional hours for Division 22. And when I initially started inquiring, what I discovered is the ODE staff didn't really necessarily agree what goes where. But they had an opportunity to calibrate amongst themselves and you know, came through the process with a better understanding even for themselves. So Linda, do you want to talk a little bit about your document here?
Sure. So what I did is I broke down by each building, and then I put a summary together for all of you that I'm showing on the screen right now, so that you could see that for the high school 9 through 11, the required hours are 990 per year. 12th grade, 966, you know, they have about a week less due to graduation. Middle school and all the rest require 900 hours. So then we broke it down by the applied learning versus teacher facilitated on the Tuesdays and Fridays, and applied learning on Tuesdays and Fridays. Mondays count as all applied learning. That was after a lot of conversations that Sherry had with her Division 22 staff. And they were very helpful in helping us get this right. We worked really hard to make sure that we did. So the only grade levels that get to count recess are K through third. So they get a little recess hours in there, which is nice. Anyway, as you can see, everyone is meeting at this moment. This takes into consideration the transition days that we're giving up, and we don't count any hours for that, even though there will be some teaching facilitated and applied learning those days, but we didn't count it there. If we had to, we could. So barring any other ice storms or any other problems, you can see here where we calculated days by the month for Mondays, Tuesdays through Fridays, and then took away the ice storm, the conferences, transition days to CDL. So we've tried to make sure we looked at everything to get to our number of days and then also how the numbers play out. So I don't think I need to go through each one by each building, but if you have any questions, Sherry and I are happy to answer them.
I would just add one more thing to note that office hours do count for instructional time. And so you will see that notated. I just saw that on one of the sheets. And that was embedded in our schedule from the very beginning. I know that many districts were struggling in the same way to understand how all the pieces would fit together under instructional hours, but in the end, it really does all make sense. It just didn't seem to in the very beginning. I also want to remind you that for this year only, an additional 60 hours were given for conferences and family support, and an additional 60 hours count for professional development. So that's a total of 90 hours in each area, where it's typically 30. One other point I would make is I did discuss with Division 22 the idea if we were going to fall short. One of the initial conversations I had about the idea of applying for the waiver. And I was told, that districts really don't want to apply for that state waiver with Colt Gill, but it's really meant for those districts who were severely impacted by the fires and for the storm and the ice storm that followed afterwards. And I said, that's North Marion. And they said, oh, well, maybe you should apply for the waiver. But in the end, as you can see, the totals, we don't have a need to do so.
Any questions?
So, if there are any questions?
I have a question. This is Heidi. So does this mean that we don't need to add additional days to our school calendar?
That is correct. The days that were on the academic calendar for possible makeups at this point in time will not be needed.
Please knock on wood. We could have a power outage or anything, you guys.
That's good news.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing the good news about that. And thank you very much for your time. I bet many people are jumping up and down, including kids going, yay! All right. Negotiations update. We have included a copy of the MOU for hybrid and the MOU for the virtual online program. We reached tentative agreement. The associations voted and accepted it. So they would entertain a motion to, if you want to take a look at those documents beforehand. You don't need to approve an MOU. You just need to approve a contract. So it's not really necessary, but if you have any questions about it, please let me know. the goal was to continue to move forward, to reach a conclusion so that we can complete our school year with meeting as many needs as possible of parents and students and staff and meeting the state requirements, and we were able to accomplish that.
I do have a quick question, if now is the time.
Mhm.
If it, on this COVID-19 exposure, the paid leave, are we doing indefinitely or?
When someone in authority says that the person can return to work, whatever their circumstances are. Could be a doctor if they already have the vaccines. There's a rule around that. If you have the vaccine and you're exposed, it's not the same as if you didn't have the vaccine. So we would follow the guidelines for when that return to work would occur.
And if the exposure wasn't school related,
Then it's not.
then we don't.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
Mhm.
So this is Bill, and acknowledge that we don't have to actually approve an MOU.
Correct.
I'd still like to make a motion that the board acknowledge the MOUs and thank both sides of the negotiation and everybody who was involved in the negotiations for their work.
I'll second an acknowledgement.
Have a second and a motion and a second on the board. Any discussion? Hearing none, we can go to a vote on that motion. Ricardo?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Crystal?
Nay.
Heidi?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Chair votes for, motion carries.
Okay, and the last item on the agenda is the transfers in and out summary update. And Diane, I'd like, since you lead up that work, would you do us the kindness of sharing the information with the board about the transfer in and out document?
Sure thing. So what I provided for you was a few years worth of data, as you can see, as we track it along. And kind of like what we've been hearing tonight, this is not a normal year. So when you get to the far right columns, you will see from March of last year to March this year, a significant drop in transfers. I believe that's for a couple of reasons. One, we were limited. And secondly, I believe that students were already engaged in an online or CDL program in the districts that they were. So that's for the new students there, as you can see. The mid-year move, they're not a new student. What they are is they've been our student, but let's say they moved to Canby. So they want to remain with North Marion. The hardship approval has to meet the provisions by law, and we did have one. And hardships will include, kind of like Ginger was saying, for safety purposes or for foster care or whatever. So one was approved there. We had one that was denied in. It was a returning student who did not follow the guidelines or protocols to return to North Marion. When you get down to the transfers out, where that little note that says denied, not in tally. So we had 3 transfers out requests this year. And if you recall back in, I believe it was May, the board voted because of our declining enrollment and COVID, we weren't going to allow students out unless it was a hardship. So while there were 3 requests, I had put together or developed a very nice statement for North Marion that said, you know, the board has voted on this, but you will find our schools warm and inviting and whatever. And I didn't get any feedback from them, and they enrolled. So that was good. Again, going to the mid-year summer moves. They never have been at North Marion, so it's kind of the other way around. Attended Canby schools, but they moved to Aurora. Hardship, kind of the same thing what I was talking about. We did allow a couple out due to hardships. Open enrollment has sunsetted, so that doesn't count. Now we get down to the online, and that is where it looks a lot different. Tracking these was, I will say, a huge challenge. 41 of those students that have requested to do online, as you can see, and then our homeschooled kids. 4 of those have said, well, I'm going to homeschool, but they're not on our homeschool list. So we're still tracking those as well. The Monitor Old Right School, as you can see, they're not really an affiliated organization in Oregon, but that's where they're attending. So where you see that number 54, I have deducted the 18 students there using that formula with the 3 that never were here. So we're really down 36. But I also wanted to note, which I was really kind of pleased, down in the notes section, you will see at the very bottom, I did find 19 students who enrolled in an online charter school, but have re-enrolled in North Marion. So we have them back. That's really about it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Diane. That is a very challenging data point to explain because there's a lot that goes into it. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Diane. It's Crystal. Do we know, I do have a quick question. Is that negative 36? That's not above our 3% cap, right?
No, that isn't. No.
Okay, just checking.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's a great question, but no, that has no relation to our 3% cap. We have allowed all students that have asked to attend an online or charter school.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The business that needs to come before us?
Well, I just want to give you a little update on what was released today, just really quickly. We're going over it. Everyone's reading through the guidance tonight. We're having a meeting tomorrow to do any updates. It doesn't look like there's any change in our plans needed. It gives us more flexibility instead of less flexibility. So we're planning on bringing kids back in the models that we have. They did not change the square footage. And we kind of tilted our head because we expected them to move away from that square footage. And what they said is, while it's happening in some places, there's no official guidance that advises anyone to move to 3 feet. So they're waiting for that. And they anticipate that they're going to receive it, but we haven't received anything from CDE, CDC, or OHA that says, yeah, we validated the state of California. And we recommend, or we can advise you to make that change. Feel confident. So that was a rationale for that. The main change for them was about the metrics, where the metrics used to limit the move to in-person. Now the metrics encourage the move to in-person, and have thrown that door wide open. And you have to have a reason to not be in person as opposed to having a reason to be in person. So that's a shift in the chart. The health screening change basically is a K through 5. It's still done as you enter school, feeling today. And for 6 through 12, it could be off-site. So kids can tap on an app, or they can do it in another way, but you don't have to do the screening at the door for secondary students. There's an adjustment to the face coverings in school to allow kids to take small breaks in a very structured format. That didn't exist before, but now it does, so that can be built in. Let's see. Performance for singing and band can happen live in person. Singers have to not be facing each other. And when people are playing instruments, they can remove their mask to play their instrument, as long as they're not playing towards each other. So anyway, so the guidance allows that to happen as well. And there'll be on the 19th, graduation pathway guidance coming to allow high schools to figure out how to make sure that kids that are graduating that have the chance and are not negatively impacted by something that they have no control over. So that guidance is coming out as well as graduation ceremonies. And the hint that we received today is it will be a lot like Washington's that was recently received and how you can structure a ceremony. So that's pretty much it. That's what we're looking at and talking about tomorrow. And the summer guidance, we talked about wanting to have summer school and give kids an opportunity. Graduating seniors who are close to finishing have until August 30th to become graduates. So we're trying to figure out how to have a program between the end of school and August 30th to support those kids and make sure that they get to graduate. And then for other students who want to get some help over the summer, potentially care over the summer and childcare. And then there's lots of opportunities. It's a matter of figuring out what our community wants. Do you know who I can see everybody running for the hills and saying, no more school, please. Then I can also see other people saying, yeah, well, since we're going to be here, it would be nice to have some normalcy and have kids come into the school. So we'll have to do a community survey and find out what our parents really want and need. And then we'll have to see if we have the staff who have the energy to make it happen. Because they're a little tired. They've all been working. Everyone is very, very tired. And that's all I have for tonight.
So those that are gonna be graduating later, will that be another ceremony? Or-
I don't know, but I don't see any reasons why we shouldn't have a ceremony for kids that who graduate a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll have our full graduation report then in April, right? Our Tri-3 one?
Yes, our Tri-2,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Tri-3, yes. If that will give us an indication of who's on track at the end of Tri-2. Yes, that's on the April report.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I heard lots and lots of new technology being added in. Is that in the presentations, is that federally funded?
Yes.
Or because there's those are all upgrades that I'm assuming we'll be able to use after the pandemic, but I heard lots and lots of technology being added
Yes.
here. And so,
Yeah.
okay.
And I was wondering about GoPro cameras. People can wear and walk around using Bluetooth to give kids a tour. Hey, let's go open the locker. I mean, it could be fun. You open the locker and there's a, hey, welcome back to school thing. And you're walking down the hallway and, hey, see the teacher. I mean, there's a lot of fun things you could do with the GoPro camera.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff.
Cool. Well, if there's no other business, I will go ahead and adjourn us.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.